Welcome to Reclaim Your Life. I'm Duane, your host and producer. I'm the author of Alpha Chick and a life recovery coach. But I really think of myself as a spiritual messenger, helping women to live better lives. When we release the past, we can fully embrace the present. All of my guests this season will share their own journeys of self-discovery, how they pushed through their pain with perseverance and now live as self-loving, empowered women with a purpose. And I have to tell you, today I'm like a little kid. I'm so excited to introduce you to Tina Lifford. And I want to tell you a little bit about Tina. Under what circumstances can drug addiction and debilitating stage fright be good? Actress, playwright, and inner fitness trainer, Tina Lifford says she owes her inner health and undeniable wisdom to these challenges. She spent years worrying and feeling lost and powerless because of her brother's drug addiction and her own struggle with anxiety left over from a talent show event that happened in the 5th grade. Freedom from both became her life's mission, and in the process, what was her greatest challenges became her best teachers. For more than 20 years now, this actress has come into millions of homes via over 90 television shows like CSI, Criminal Minds, and Cold Case. Currently, for the past 4 seasons, she portrays Crosby's stern mother-in-law, Renee Trussell, on the hit NBC show Parenthood. Off-camera, Tina Lifford has dedicated her life to God, inner fitness, and to the sisterhood of all women. Tina's commitment shines forth in her play The Circle, about how 7 diverse women navigate the choppy waters of life together, and in her newly released book, The Little Book of Big Lies, both leave audiences enthusiastically chanting, "I am enough." Tina, welcome. It's such an honor to have you with us today. You're such an enlightened soul. Thank you so much for fitting us in.
Well, thank you so much, Mel. And isn't it wonderful for each of us, for all of us, to have the opportunity to go through our lives collecting pearls in the form of human beings like you and like any other person, male or female, who is committed to living this life brilliantly. Having those kinds of people in our lives just makes this journey that is challenging so much better.
Oh, thank you. You know, everyone thinks an actress, beautiful, living in California, Hollywood, all that excitement and sizzle. But what they don't realize is that as a woman, you've had personal struggles too, and you've had many of the same challenges that a lot of us have had. So I'd love to kind of dig into your story a little bit. I want to read a quote that I took from your website, which I think is just so powerful and is going to open up this dialogue. Talking about our pain and challenges is different from wallowing in them. Wallowing feeds the lie that you're not good enough. Talking about our hurt as part of our commitment to healing will heal and educate us. It will lead us to the personal discovery of I am enough. We must learn to feel beautiful, capable, and good enough just as we are. This is the essence of inner fitness, which is what your whole program is all about, and I just love it.
Well, thank you so very much. And thank you for reading that quote, because it really is the essence of inner fitness and how I see life. And, you know, I tend to start my conversation with most people these days by asking a question. So if it's okay, I'd like to ask you this question, and everyone who is listening feel that I am asking you this question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, in all your years of schooling, from kindergarten to whatever grade you completed, did you ever take one course that taught you how to navigate the hurts, dramas, traumas, upsets, and disappointments that come with life?
No.
Right.
No.
That no is where 98% of us live. And when you think about that no, next to the very real challenges that we all have had, that no is absolutely insane. And so that quote is really about becoming more realistic and honest and courageous when it comes to life and doing what right this moment our society does not do in any sort of structured way, and that is finding for ourselves those behaviors and skills that allow us to powerfully and effectively take our power back from the challenges that come with life. And everybody gets those challenges, right? No one, the challenges, the things that bring us to our knees, the ways in which we feel, lost or not good enough or filled with doubt, every single human being has those experiences. So what we need, and what we can benefit from at least, is for there to be a way in which we have tools and skill sets that we can turn to on a dime to help us navigate in those most difficult moments. It's like when you think about physical fitness, even the most celebrated or professional couch potato knows that if, in fact, he were to go to the doctor or he were to wake up and decide that he no longer wants to put his health at risk in the ways in which he has been doing based upon no exercise or what he's eating, he knows immediately what he can do to change his life. He knows how he can get up, put on some tennis shoes, and just start walking. We all know that diet and exercise are the cornerstones to physical fitness. Everyone understands that. And yet, we don't have cornerstones established for inner fitness. And the Inner Fitness Project is saying, wait a minute, our inner fitness is not only as important as our physical fitness, it's more important. Because we all know that we can dress it up and look good on the outside and pretend like we got it all together. And on the inside, be close to, all kinds of dysfunction and breakdown and feelings of desperation. So we women, as the caregivers, as the mothers, and as the new leaders in our society, we get, and I think that this is an amazing opportunity, we have the opportunity to take the lead in how we show up in the world, in the skills that we develop, the uncommon skills that we are ready to develop, the inner fitness skills that we are ready to develop, the skills that will allow us to look at the dis-ease that's going on inside of us, and instead of interpreting it in disempowering ways, we can begin to use the tools and skills available to turn that stuff around, to teach our children, to respond to our mates in ways that model these skills so that they can become a more integral part of our lives, and we can move society and the species forward.
share with us, what would you consider one of your greatest personal challenges and how you worked through it?
Well, I'm going to say that my greatest challenge, actually both my brother's drug addiction and a stage fright event. I'm going to talk about the stage fright event because I think people can pretty much, understand or relate to why my brother's drug addiction might have been so challenging. But a lot of people will think about something like stage fright and think, that's no big deal. I mean, come on, that's not a big thing. And what I learned in this process was that thing that hooks any of us and makes us feel nervous or less than or uncertain, that kind of getting hooked can come from just about anything. So my stage fright may not sound like a big deal to someone who is challenged by something else, but what I'm really talking about when it comes to the walk of freedom is what happens when an event takes place that reshapes how we see ourselves and then how we show up in the world. And in the 5th grade, I was good at everything, and I happen to be a person who has a lot of physical intelligence. They have broken intelligence down into like 7 categories, and there's, I'm not going to remember them all, but there's musical, there's numerical, there's spatial, there's physical, there's all these different categories of intelligence. And I happen to have motor intelligence as one of my intelligences. You tell this body to do anything, and it can do it. The teachers used to in PE would have me jump up on the trampoline, and I will have never ever seen or done a particular move that might be very, very tricky. They would tell me, and my body would hear what they say and then do it without any effort. And I used to sing, and my mom tells me that I had a really nice voice. And I say had because I signed up for a talent show in the 5th grade, which was a no-brainer for me. I was good at acting. I was good at singing. I was just, I'm a creative being. And the day of the talent show, I got the roster. The order of performances was handed out, and I can see that day and that moment just as clear as crystal clear right this moment. And I was in PE class, and the sun is shining through the window, and they hand me the roster, and I see that my name is first. And I have no idea why that freaked me out, but it did. I took a gulp of fear, and in that fear walked with me. Let's say it was about 9:30, 10 in the morning. That fear walked with me, sort of lived in my heart until time to go on stage at like 2 o'clock. By the time I got on that stage at 2 o'clock, that moment had grabbed hold of me and my heart with such intensity that I was frozen stiff on that stage. And literally, everything went blank. I was standing under these huge lights. It went blank. I could barely hear in the background the piano teacher trying to help me by playing the bars over and over. Finally, they had to come to center stage, pick me up, and take me off to the wings. Now, that moment, of course, was terribly embarrassing. Here I am, this person that is supposed to be good at everything, and I'm, in front of all of my peers, and I can't see, I can't hear, and I can't move. And I remember going into the bathroom and crying my eyes out and just feeling horrible confusion and shame. Now, what's really interesting is that I forgot that, or so I thought I had forgot that. I didn't really think I had put a whole lot of energy into it. But what started to happen as I was building my acting career is that periodically there would be a moment, and I started to, over time, be able to put together the sequence of events that would sort of trigger for me that age-old fear and feeling. And there were times when it came to getting ready for an audition where my hands would be shaking so much that I could barely put my makeup on. And what is most important about, those experiences that we have to rewrite in our lives, most often we meet those experiences with the absolute antithesis of what we should be doing. So, in those moments of nervousness and fear, what I tried to do was to not be nervous. And I would tell myself that this is ridiculous, and I would be unkind to myself sometimes because it just didn't make sense. And in our never let them see you sweat world, showing up flawless and powerful and without any problems is the game that we're taught to play. But the reality is that our emotional systems work in very specific ways. And when we understand that, we can work with ourselves to rewire anything. But if we don't understand what is required, then most of what we're doing will have the effect of re-wounding us and driving that fear and anxiety deeper. What I know today is that it's really important to acknowledge the feelings, not run from them, to reinterpret the experience so that we can take the charge, the negative, demeaning charge off of it and rewire it in a way that empowers and creates purpose. And it's also important to know techniques that you can use to actually take the emotional charge off and sort of re-strengthen that emotional sensibility, I'm going to say. And there's actually EFT I have found to be a wonderful tool. And if you don't know about emotional freedom technique, please go to Google and check it out, because it's a really powerful way of supporting ourselves. And all of this is what I have spent the last 20 years learning, so that not only could I be more powerful and free, and I've had a fantastic career. I've worked opposite Clint Eastwood and Bruce Willis and Sidney Poitier and Michael Caine and Jennifer Gardner. I mean, I've had a really lovely career. But that career could only be forged out of my making my internal world my priority, so that I could show up in my external world my full self.
You obviously rewrote the emotional charge that you had about that stage fright so that you could show up and do all these performances. And what specific steps did you take to kind of reframe that fear?
Yeah, well, I mentioned EFT, and that's a really important one. Another really important concept that, and I have to tell you very quickly that, we all are actually just playing out of ideas. And ideas are literally just, ideas are like, dust in the wind. They're just all around us. But an idea actually begins to control our lives based upon how tightly we hold on to it. And so I like to say that, an idea is nothing until we hold it long enough that it becomes a concept. And if you hold a concept long enough, it becomes a belief. And if you hold a belief long enough, it becomes a principle, and then a practice, and then a way of life. And so one of my primary beliefs is that we really are bigger than any challenge we face. And I believe that the spiritual side of us is beyond the limitation of the human side of us. And that we are, in our spiritual identity, we are one with God. And that when we really know that, the way the yogis and the greatest of all spiritual walkers have known that, I believe that we would wind up knowing that there is nothing bigger than, or like I like to say, on the other side of God. And so for me, that phrase, there is nothing on the other side of God, it actually became wired inside of me as a reality. So I held that idea long enough so that it moved through the concept, belief, principle, practice, and became a way of life. So when I would stand in front of a camera, and even to this day, when you have an old challenge, I'd say never underestimate the power of an old challenge to reignite. And I say that because if you think about a balloon, you can take a balloon and blow a whole bunch of air in it and it get really big. And if you let that air out of it, then that balloon becomes very small and it's got no real depth to it. But the carcass, the skin is always there waiting to catch air. And I feel that our challenges are the same way. Once they are created, there's a shape that lives on. But we don't have to put air in it. And once we know how to take care of ourselves, we can make sure that we get in front of the thinkings and the responses that would fill that balloon up again or give that challenge more, girth. So when I find myself, and we all have like what I call body-based triggers. It might be that your heart starts to beat faster, or you get a feeling in a particular part of your body someplace, or maybe your palms sweat, or something happens at the back of your neck. We each have a body-based response that tells us that we are at the precipice of being triggered in an old way. And what our job is to get in front of that trigger, get in front of that old reaction, applying new techniques. So one of mine is the EFT. Another one is that I have practiced the idea of I am, there's nothing on the other side of God, and I'm one with God. And so even if my physical, small self is feeling triggered or like it might be triggered, I reach for my higher self. And at that plane, I can tell myself, there's nothing on the other side of God. I am more than this. I can accept that this is present, and even though this is present, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And so now I'm not running. Now I'm not afraid. I'm not terrified that this thing is going to grab hold of me. I know it's there. I can, there's this beautiful moment in the movie A Brilliant Mind, where at the very end of the movie, the professor who has struggled most of his life with, I think it is manic depression or multiple personalities. I don't remember which one. Yeah.
Performance.
Yeah. And what he bends down to this young boy and he says, do you see anyone around us? And the young boy says, no. And he says, I'm just checking, because I always have to, and in essence he's saying he's always working his principles to stay centered in his reality, in his true reality, and not get pulled into that old knee-jerk habitual reality. And that's what we must do. So does that answer your question as to some of the things I do too?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Because in that, and even though it may not have sounded like a true technique, understanding where we are in that journey, what I call the morphing of an idea, understanding where one is when it comes to great ideas and when it comes to disempowering or not so great ideas. The only way an idea, good or bad, seeps into our lives as a way of life is based upon how firmly we've held on to it. And if we don't want the ideas that are running our lives to continue to run our lives, then we must recognize that we've been holding on to that idea, and we must come up with new ideas about ourselves that we commit to holding on to as fervently, so that they can become our new concepts, our new beliefs, our new principles, our new practices, and our new way of life.
Tina, I think what is so powerful about what you're saying here is that women have to understand this is a process. This is something you work on. This is something that takes commitment, and it's a practice. And it's not an instant fix. There aren't any instant fixes out there for us. It takes work. And, you working through this process of dissipating that fear has been, something that you've worked on for years. And probably, I'm assuming every time you go up for a big role, a huge audition, some of that fear may surface, and now you know the body triggers that you talk about, exactly
That's
when
right.
you get that feeling in your body and you go, whoa,
That's right.
Okay, I can do this.
That's right.
And that's when you get into the empowering thoughts, knowing that on the other side of God, this isn't there.
That's right. That's right. And, in my book, The Little Book of Big Lies, it's 14 stories, and through those stories there is a technique for personal empowerment. And one of the way in which I open the book up is with a concept called self. And I just think it's so important for us women, because I see us as leaders, whether we're CEOs of corporations or households or ourselves, women are leaders, and we must lead the new behavior that says process, doing the work is not only okay, it's the responsible thing to do. It is, there is no way that as, mothers or caregivers, that we would want to teach our children to have some sort of magical expectation that life is just going to plop into their hands the way they want without putting forth effort. And yet our society, when it comes to mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, there's this irrational expectation that it's just supposed to happen. And we're more mature than that, and it's time for us to look at that and call it what it is. That's childish thinking. And we need childish thinking to take care of ourselves. We can take care of ourselves by understanding that life takes work and sharing that message in a way that empowers, because that's the truth. And, there's a way in which I have come to see myself, and it actually comes from an experience that I had in a dream where I saw that there was what I call the me, the little me. I was on a beach, and there I saw these two women off in the distance arguing. And one was just flailing her arms and, just ranting and raving. And the other one, who was actually facing the ocean, and the little one had her back to the ocean, and this other one was facing her and facing the ocean. And she was calm, and she was confident, and she just seemed to be listening. And the closer I got to that person in the dream, the more I realized that both were me. Mm-hmm. And the little self was the self that does not know who she is and, is afraid and uncertain and therefore at war. And the higher self, what I call the capital S self, is that part of us, inside of us, right this moment, that is strong, that knows who she is, and knows, more importantly, that she's connected to something greater. And I call that greater self the all-cap self. Mm-hmm. And so when we begin to spend the kind of time with ourselves that we can identify when we are reacting from that small self and reach for and allow ourselves to be hugged by our capital S self, knowing and beginning to, take the idea of this and hold on to it until it becomes a way of life, then we get to, in the moment of challenge, we can either acknowledge where we are with that little self and reach to that plane inside of us that has more wisdom, and operate from that more loving and protective capital S self, knowing that we sit in a much bigger idea altogether of who we are. And if we can just leave room for that idea, we can gain power from it that can help us do what's necessary in the moment to navigate our lives brilliantly, to change our circumstances, and to actually feel that we can make a self-empowering choice right this moment.
Beautiful. I want to thank you because you are offering just a beautiful free gift to our listeners, Yourself Redefined Brilliantly. And just tell us a little bit about that and your website address as well, where people can find you.
Fantastic. Well, that was a perfect segue, and I didn't even realize it. The gift that I want to share with the listeners is a way of redefining themselves using the self concept. So I have a wonderful video that actually walks you through an understanding of the small self and how it operates, and the capital S self, and then the all cap self. And in that video, I do a little bit of a diagram that really sort of, I suspect, based upon feedback, that you'll be able to see yourself and see your own behaviors in a way that helps you to organize and then choose more actively, more powerfully, based upon the tool of being able to see. You know, awareness is the beginning of everything. And so you'll get that free video along with a PDF that gives you an exercise. And I feel confident that it will add a layer of self-awareness that can really help you navigate your life.
Oh, beautiful. I would love to wrap up our conversation with another quote from you, and I think it's one of the most beautiful ones that I've read. When you know yourself, you're empowered. When you accept yourself, you are invincible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tina, this has been such an honor to share this time with you, this conversation. You're just an enlightened soul, and it's just fabulous to chat with you. And I thank you again for giving us this time, because I know how busy you are. And I'm just so grateful to have met you and connected with you.
Well, I thank you so much for that, Mel. And I say this with every ounce of sincerity. We are in this together, all of us. And when we wake up and know that we are one, and that the sisterhood really can, and at this point has the emotional power to make a huge difference in the world, it's just a joy to, again, meet and be with and work with women who want to change the world.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Have a beautiful day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Mm-hmm.